Hello and welcome to Dune's video proposal for the next city to be built in Qatar. Dune has thoroughly planned the city and believes that with the help of investors and governmental support, our partners can and will provide their latest in terms of technological advancement to ensure that our city has the capacity to be economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable. The city we plan to build will be located on the upper west side of Qatar, between Dukhan and Al Khuwair, approximately an hour and a half away from Doha, the country's capital, by car. The city would take up 130 kilometers squared of land space, fostering everything from commercial and corporate properties to recycling facilities to suburban areas. We can comfortably house, educate, and employ around 760,000 people, with plenty of room for expansion. Build a successfully sustainable city. Here in Dune, we recognize that we have to take into consideration 7 main points: energy, waste management, transport, housing, employment, leisure facilities, and services. So we will go into detail about how we plan to tackle all 3. Now, talking about employment, our aim is to attract as many influential transnational corporations to our city to increase the number of job opportunities at every level and promote our beliefs in development and sustainability. We allow businesses to rent out either entire buildings or sections of a building, depending on their numbers. These buildings are located in the central business district for a lower cost. We also encourage them to construct their own buildings as long as they abide by our rules. In terms of buildings, we build upwards in the business district to increase the number of corporations who seek out both national and international offices in Qatar for future financial growth. We also allow room in both the business district as well as more commonly commercialized areas to support small business owners of salons, bakeries, or boutiques, to encourage locals who are considering starting up a business and following their personal passions.
Moving on to energy, our city has a main electrical grid that runs throughout the entire place: buildings, schools, hospitals, houses, everything. By creating sustainable energy sources from natural power, we will put any power we create into the central grid. So the city's electricity will essentially begin to pay for itself. Qatar is a desert, so solar energy is quite an obvious solution to sustainable energy. So rather than taking up a lot of ground space with solar farms, buildings would have solar panels installed on top of them, like malls and residential complexes or anywhere that can fit solar panels. Theoretically, it would require an upfront payment of 72,000 riyal for an average single household, meaning it would cost hundreds of billions of riyals to cover the electrical needs of the entire city, even though it would break even in 6 years. In Dune, our main source of energy would be wind power. A single offshore commercial wind turbine costs around 10 million riyals, but generates enough electricity to power at least 1,500 average-sized households per year. In other terms, that would mean you would be able to charge your iPad approximately 2 billion times. To power 400,000 average-sized households, it would cost an upfront payment of 3 billion riyals, and it would be possible to break even in as little as a year. The thing is, we have far less than 400,000 households, so the excess energy would go straight into the power grid and go forth to power the equivalent of 200,000 households. In the equivalent of office buildings, malls, stores, apartment complexes, and other leisure facilities across the city. Overall, this would decrease our electricity usage by 80% in the most sustainable of ways. As for waste management, recycling is compulsory, and violations will result in fines. In Dune, we have recycling sectors for plastic, paper, metal, and glass. Waste collection would take place twice a week and trash would be taken to their respective recycling locations. Recycled products would be sold for a profit that will then go to cover the cost of labor, transport, and the upkeep of the facilities themselves. Any kind of completely biodegradable waste is sent to our landfills, which are void of anything that will not decompose. This will slow the speed at which our landfills fill up by a solid 60% and will function so that the masses of waste dumped previously can be turned into fertilizer along with local animal waste and be sold for a profit that will help subsidize costs of our recycling services, so that within a few years, the system will be funding itself as well as emptying our landfills. As for sewage waste, the water will be filtrated using the newest of technology that works to remove everything from the water except the hydrogen, oxygen, and minerals necessary, making it even cleaner than the current water system instead of dumping everything into the sea. The clean water can then be used for drinking water, sink water, animal produce, as well as our own agricultural advances.
Within Dune, we believe that the government must prioritize its expenditure, especially when major sources of income begin to fall. The health and safety of the residents in the city and country are our utmost priority, meaning that medical services and emergency procedures should be given the most funding in terms of government subsidies, because many people would simply be unable to afford medical attention. With financial needs covered, Dune's residents have 2 major hospitals as well as multiple specialized clinics where they can receive exceptional treatment within world-class facilities that seek to provide for each resident equally. Police forces would go along with Qatar's current system that has been well established for quite some time now. In case of emergencies, fire response teams as well as ambulances are situated at 3 key points in the city, allowing them to reach virtually anywhere in the city within minutes to ensure the safety and protection of our residents.
Regarding transportation, we take air pollution very seriously in our city. So in order to almost eliminate the carbon emissions within our city, we're cutting down the use of cars and replacing them with more environmentally friendly alternatives, such as solar-powered buses, solar-powered subway trains, and bikes, seeing as we have bike and walk only lanes and areas throughout our city. The city is set up in a grid system that maps out the city for maximum efficiency in transportation. We have a
life-proof.
Maha! 4x4 grid system for subway trains going around the city. We also have over 40 bus routes throughout the city to get to the smaller areas that the subway trains couldn't be able to reach. We have bike rental stations scattered throughout the entire city to encourage healthy living and cut down on carbon emissions. As for housing, specific areas of our city contain apartment complexes with several types of apartments. Most buildings are cookie-cutter style apartments. For example, a whole apartment complex just for 1-bedroom apartments, another for 2-bedroom apartments, and another for 3 buildings. These low-income apartment complexes can be found throughout the city, but mostly nearer to the industrial area so that they can get to their jobs easily and fast. As for our suburban areas, the honeycomb housing system is used to save space, energy, and it creates a tight-knit community where everyone is close together to improve neighborly relationships and cut down on costs, making it a perfect family setting. As for the higher class, the large houses and occasional mansions can be found in the suburban areas, while the high-end apartments and penthouses can be found in the business district.
Moving on to leisure facilities, our city has 5 main shopping areas that are evenly distributed throughout the 3 main sectors of our city. This is so that it is easy for everybody to visit them with a short trip on public transport. Each of these shopping centers host a handful of restaurants, shops, supermarkets, and such. Although we have smaller parks spread throughout our entire city, we have methodically located the city's largest park in the center of the map so that it is available to all citizens. Since there are no roads within the park, we have located 4 bus stops on the outskirts of the area, ready for people to jump on and off at any time. Besides a large surface area of grass that is available to all our citizens for free, our central park also has leisure facilities such as tennis courts, football pitches, and volleyball courts. These are available at the low cost of 10 Qatar per hour. We also have a small man-made lake that is home to several ducks and fish. It is also open to everybody for free. Littering will be fined and there will be park watchers at all times. But all in all, we greatly encourage and welcome everybody to come and spend the day at the park for free. Besides the park, we also greatly encourage our citizens to get fit by placing 3 main gyms, one in each sector of the city. The gym machines and equipment are available for everybody to use for free since the machines are connected to our energy grids and contribute to the product of energy to power the city. In school, we teach children about the importance and the enjoyment behind exercise so that they have a positive view on fitness. It's a win-win situation.
Audio Jungle.